After spending approximately 26 seconds in the anime community, one can find themselves trapped in an internal loop of internal debates that seem to go nowhere, one of the most prominent of these being exemplified in the massively popular K-On! Recurrent question marks bubble up in the muddy wash of shit-flinging. Do all slice-of-life anime have no plot? Is it a problem for a show to eschew traditional narrative? Does this anime in particular have a plot? Well, obviously it does, but it could hardly be considered densely constructed. It takes its time, hobbling down a meandering path to a final resting point that, rather than a traditional climax, is merely a transitory point between one moment of these four girls' lives, formative as any 3-year slice, and where the next piece will presumably begin, locked away from public consumption. However, this turtle's pace and lack of an explosive finale are part of what a true patrician likes to call le point. K-On!, in its lackadaisical focus on cake and tea over intricate musicianship, fights back against the literally deadly work ethic of Japan that keeps so many teens blisteringly on their toes.
1, 2, 3, 4!
The show punctuates its radically lazy, or as it would prefer crazy, attitude in its opening and ending themes. When the girls sing about leaving their club early being a worse offense than showing up to school late, or having to put their true passions aside for test retakes, it isn't a portrayal of the girls' adolescent immaturity on the loudspeakers. These songs, like a heartbeat, bringing us in and out, are the show's most recalled upon artistic statements, and upon inspection of the more singular notes building the narrative's melody, one is assured that they aren't ironic devices. Kagaye Cake Girls displays a fairly moderate take, stating the girls shine brightly, and even adapting Yui's intense studying sessions into its lyrics. But it's in the more fiery ED, don't say lazy, where things get really chill. It presents our protagonists as having futures with such promise that it's no trouble taking breaks now and then. The song stresses feeling achievement in simple accomplishments, and loving yourself. It uses a motif of birds, and presents wings as a cheat to shortcut one's way to victory. And when defeat inevitably comes, it asks that you merely lower your goals. If you can't forgive your failings, how could those around you? As connective tissue between OP and ED, lines about test papers feature. The ironic negative connotation of red for failing marks and lazy fights girls' more positive red. Itself an ironic twist on the rose-tinted glasses of nostalgia, transforming the color into an almost prophetic symbol of good days still coming. But the bland and potentially bubble-missing white of the test sheet is presented as the enemy within both stanzas, a reinforced indictment of school standards. Speaking of connections between beginning and conclusion, just about everyone and their autistic clone baby has brought up Yui's distracted ramble run to school at the start of episode 1, in contrast to her terse focus forward towards her band's performance at season 1's end. Less mentioned from that same episode, yet transformatively important, is her childhood friend's anecdote about the impossibility of keeping a young Yui from doing what her attention is brought upon. Despite the seeming ease with which distractions grab her, the opposite is true, a fact evidenced by her ability to rapidly learn a new topic at the cost of forgetting whatever old idea she had been discovering. Yui's character arc is not of learning to care or concentrate, but of discovering what in her life deserves special attention, listening to find the sound among the noise. This process begins with much ambivalence from our protagonist. She keeps telling Nadaka that she wants to find an after-school club, but being bombarded by classmates eager to have her doesn't lead to a joining into any. Later, she returns to the club board with different hair clips, seen only once throughout the series. The blue color and crossing pattern of the clips resembling the blue interlaced tie, which adorns her uniform. In making personal accessories match the standardized school outfit and actively seeking out clubs on the posted board, the schoolgirl looks to integrate fully into the culture of learning that holds Japan students. But Yui returns to her classic look and indecision regarding clubs in mere seconds. The next time we see her at this club advertiser, she's still dressed in those 2 bars of gold and by mere chance glance, the girl sees a new flyer for a new light music club. The idea of performing sound triggers within her positive memories, which shoot the show's story into action as she decides to join the club. The posters of the poster had up to 2 girls in whole, and by small chance had caught a glance of their future member prior to her joining when both met up with who would coincidentally become their club supervisor concurrently. And as the tides of fate crash them together, the straight man of K-on's most classic comedic duo says something massively interesting. She's a pretty teacher. In hindsight, at least. A rather natural remark to make about an anime-made goddess such as Sawako, but we must note that the compliment references her appearance in relation to her profession. The educator learns a lot about how other people view her as a person and professional throughout the series. In constant quests to obscure her garish heavy metal past and schemes to present herself as the perfect teacher, she ends up obscuring her true self in the name of the school's conformist ideal of her career. But she comes to realize that even disregarding the added negative of losing her true self, Sawako's public image equation isn't offering the right answer. While the audience, through the power of the Naoko gaze, is aware of the failings of her image manufacturing, she only realizes at the end of the show, showing the wild and wilder and wilder sides of herself, gets even more respect from the students than being a picture-perfect professor. Though, even her looser side is built upon fakeness, with a narrow focus on pushing boundaries going so far as to alienate the wild dude the wilder girl wanted. But somewhere down there, Sawako is a bit wild, and she's also a bit of a guide. In not forcing a 100% pure version of any aspect of herself, she will find true happiness and respect. This character art, which becomes message via the audience's early priviness to the answer, is clear from the very beginning of the series. By simple chance glance, the girls see some old pictures of an old light music club, which when presented to Sawako, trigger within her grieving memories, which shoot her into action to delete the Earth's memory of the club. Her absurd sprint, recalling ferocious, undomesticated cats, is already plenty to hint at her horrific history for onlookers. But as she comes to the stairways, her fake face found fate has already been sealed within the minds of the attentive viewer. Ripped straight from the pages of real life, the model school of K-on's House of Learning hosts a recreation of a story ripped straight from the pages of folklore. The hare runs fast, and faster, and faster, and stops. But the tortoise, slow and steady as it may be, wins the race. Rousing rabbler Ritsu has beaten the beast with a single shielding cross, an embarrassing high school photo. With this image, the reformed, black-hearted Shredder is blackmailed into supervising 4 cute girls' cake and tea time hangouts. A terrible fate for sure, but somehow Sawako is able to get over it. In fact, some might even say that she'd pay to keep this safe space to relax her grip on personal image and tighten it on a nice cup of energy while hanging out with the other pigs and turtles, or pig-nosed turtles. The turt, a symbol for the K-on Club's easygoing mood, and the hog, the K-on bu-ta, in accordance with Japanese pig metaphor, is a symbol for the girls' courage and independence in their solitary path. Not so appreciative of Sawako's joining in is Mio, the very one who first complimented her immaculate appearance as a teacher, becomes fearful of her monstrous, wrathful, romantic, angst-sparked, and simple love for chaos-fueled intensity as a musician, as well as her affinity for playing cute dress-up with cute girls. While these two sides of Sawako's unglorified personality seem incompatible, aside from the craft creating both chaotic and cute costumes calls for, when called into context of contradicting her posturing position of occupation, they make more sense. This is obvious, but maid outfits skirt the school's social order more subtly. Some seem satisfied believing that these often fetishistic costumes are merely a carryover from the crappy Fort Coma, but With anime editions, their existence is reinterpreted. The outfits repeatedly replaced by more fun costume are importantly not the popular sailor style that Yui's middle school had. Rather, they descend from a suit species. This business-like design emphasizes the school as a training ground for a corporate working life. When Sawako adorns her students with fantastical clothing ranging from royalty to servant, she de-restricts them from this uniform existence as another wheel in the bus. Even when the girls are forced to wear Sawako's art pieces or receive replicas, the next design comes as quick as an opportunity. This performance of a million different parts, both similar and separate from self, is an embracing of the infinite inwards potential of children that school's conformity keeps from being unleashed. Eventually, the whole school ends up united under an individual shirt of Sawako's weaving. But unlike the school's uniform, it is a handout, not a rule. We even see some students who keep wearing their uniform underneath the shirt. I have no idea how all these hundreds of other students found a private space to properly change, but still, some rad thematics. The shirt's creator, whose combo of HTT, collar, and darker sleeves serve as a beautiful closing statement for the character, and the warmth she receives from appraisal of her shirt an appropriate award for finding herself. Both climax for teacher and pupil collide in this shirt as the collective school body comes to praise our girls for rising above in the time after school. Even when the sing-songy students are dressed properly in performance, it's purposely positioned. But before I push past both of the show's seasons and talk about the movie on my drive to make the most maniacally freeform anime analysis to grace the binary planes of the internet, I'm going to just discuss the first of the 3 uniform displays, and hopefully walk in a straight line for a time. After Sawako notes the crew's cuteness keeps even in regular outfit, their playing, below regular as it may be, captures the eye of the straight-edged Azusa, who turns her attention to them almost involuntarily, as if being molded by the rocking sound waves emanating from the stage. Despite her straight-laced nature, she comes to rest her feet at the slovenly room of the K-On! Club. Quickly, though, she realizes just how untamed the pigs here really are. Aside from the raw, indefinable energy their concert had, those damned school uniforms were a trap, covering the true nature of the K-On! Girls. If only she had seen their last show with the pervy maid outfits and the panty slip of nudist nightmares, she would have known to swing on over to the jazz group. But here she stands, with all these seated leeches and a teach inexplicably groveling on the ground, grabbing onto her, pleading her not to interfere with the precious tea time, to, God forbid, get some actual music playing introduced in the light music club. She snaps, and all hope seems lost for the group of 5 ever holding together. But then, something that would bubble up even the most still blood lake of an unbeating heart happens. Mere minutes before in the episode, Azunyan, unaware that her musical abilities far outstrip those of every other member of the club she's innocently infiltrated, requests Yui as her guitar teacher. So enamored is she with the idea of being someone's sensei, Yui becomes engulfed in a sea of bright pastel bubbles, while her promised protege and Ritsu interject with their own non-diegetic sweat droplets to undermine her excitement. Of course, since the mini girl is so much more an advanced guitar player, her senior's dreams of leading are quashed. But as soon as the newbie begins to criticize the complacent attitude that has allowed her to fly so far past those beyond peerdom with her, Yui comes in with a hugging embrace that elicits the same comforting bubbles from the twin-tailed girl once solely relegated to the expertise of Yui, the same exasperated droplet coming from a Mio in disbelief that human contact could so affect a person as to stop their whining. See, at this moment, our protagonist did indeed become a sensei for the new kid. Maybe not in the arts of shredding, but in forming bonds with people. She's here to teach her practicing protege lessons like don't kick and scream when things aren't going your way, and people aren't robots who can always work and gain satisfaction from that alone. Mio's shock at the power of this knowledge hug fits perfectly, since she must learn many similar lessons to her fellow dark-haired musician. Azusa is an interesting addition to the group because, in terms of character and internal conflict, she's largely redundant to Mio. Take some scaredy-cat antics and give some cutesy cats playing. They can still be validly distinguishable, like this scene, where Mio undermines the club's mascot by finding it scary, and Azusa defeats its symbolism by hammering on about the responsibilities of pet ownership, straight from a manual. All the while, Yui becomes pig-nosed herself in up-close admiration of the turtle. But aside from those subtle differences, the new kids' contributions to the show's themes lie largely in exploring how humans can integrate themselves into close and somewhat enclosed groups of people, and continue practices after the founders have left, rather than her responsibility, social awkwardness, and investment in music and academics, which are all shared by her senpai. While the traits on either side of this short list are generally considered excellent ones to have, it isn't just the middle one that must be cleared away. Just as this specific emotional outburst was born from fidgety frustration and stillness seen in her new companions, many of the two's problems spawn from their dedication to the slavish attitude behind work in their nation. Case in point is episode 2, where the music club members must make money from menial jobs to get a guitar for Yui. And who threatens this cash earning? Not she the klutz, nor Ritsu the rambunctious, nor the absurdly privileged Mugi, who's totally an important character, is very important. No, it's star student Mio holding back the school club. All her endless training in the pursuit of high-wealth career opportunities has left her unequipped to deal with human interaction. Every job they can find is one she can't reap the benefits from, for the prospect of having to deal with strangers is just too terrible to consider. In the pursuit of a sole great opportunity, she has closed herself off to so many mere, simple, small chances. The music focus likewise detracts from the club's promotion of friendship, whether it be overemphasizing practicing or paying mind more to musical sightseeing during trips and concerts than the gang you're traveling with. These dual harmful influences are joined via Mio's proclamation that listening to music helps her study, the two in distinct distractory separation for Yui. Separation starts their second year of high school. Just before taking in Mini Mio, the elder workaholic is ironically left behind on the first floor with the first years, as the rest of her pals are placed together on the second floor. Alongside appropriate scenery of hare and turtle staircase, the rising students remark that it is as if their most hard-working friend isn't even growing up. Appropriately, their club room is even higher on the third floor, placing it at the pinnacle of metaphorical maturity in the school's architecture. Thankfully, Mio gets to join the rest of her friends in the next school year on said floor. But before then, joining her in the depths below is Nodoka, another studious individual. As valedictorian and student president, her devotion to academics seems to be presented more positively despite holding the same low stature. It's even implied that she may be less of a freak for following authority, as she's a creature of godly talent. Mio is shocked to learn that she makes her own lunches, implying that, despite an even stronger standing in school, Nodoka is also more adept at practical household duties. Furthering this perception, when reminiscing on her time helping out young Yui in her schoolwork, an act of friendship much too far for the socially stunted Mio of the past, her listeners label Nodoka's actions and Nodoka herself as motherly. She doesn't remind them of some politician or scientist or military commander. She's more of a mom commanding her kids, "Oh, sweetie, fucking do your homework, bitch, or I will take your instrument away." Yui's more classically responsible sister, Ui, also shares this trait, even going so far as to pack lunches for all of Keonbu's members. This more all-around nature could still use more rounding in class pres though, as we see in Season 2, she extends her work to also be president of her most alluring classmates' fan club. Not only do we see her smile more in this comparatively lax and personal power position, but she also wears her Hokage tea time shirt with no uniform beneath. She may beat everyone else at academics while barely trying, but her passions lie elsewhere. She even on occasion actively defies the old order of the school, helping Yui to cheat on her homework and assignments. This cheating, a reminder of the wicked wings which fly our heroines past their honest competitors. But it isn't just Nodoka handing out wings like a Maltese sample shover. The girls explicitly state in the K-On! Film that the plea of the first performance in the show, Tsubasa wo Kudasai, or "Please give me wings," was answered by Azusa. Of course, I don't look as cool when the show just lifts up the subtext like that, but as a true patrician who obsessively rewatches Rebuild of Ava, I assure you, I'd caught on to that song's relevance to the ED-ASAP. Fortunately, there are other instances of the wing motif with which to showcase my ascendant critical faculties. There's this shot, where a recommendation for parents to help their children across the street is contrasted with birds flying free above, backed by the dialogue, "You look like kids," and "Let's grow up." Yui gets some of that wing bearer action when she's compared to a fairy, and perhaps most interestingly, the most prominently shown part of the adaptation of Shakespeare made here is Romeo to Juliet, "With love's light wings did I perch these walls." You can interpret this selected excerpt fairly literally as their sisterly love being what gives the friends wings, as specifically stating that the olive branching of Ritsu to the socially inept Mio gave her wings, or even as commenting on the character building of the play, which made Mio and Ritsu expand their behavioral palettes. Or all three! Which would be pretty sick if I wasn't so distracted by the fact that they're performing Shakespeare in Japanese. IDK. William's pulsatingly pithy and puerile puns pounded in pure poetry meant more in original English than the tongues of Yin or Wulong land. Though, I have to give props to STE03's use of the English language to further meaning making, even if I've seen similar with one same word in 2.0 and 2.22, though not sure of true POO. I mean, Sushin seems an obvious ground zero to build off, or awkward range casting, really. I won't really anyone I like how he's learned God. Oh, Father God, I've gone and done it again, partaking in the spiraling, branching tree of thought. Motherfucker. Nothing I ever write is good. I can't get back on track. This script's beyond salvation. Wait. I feel like I'm forgetting something. A list only partially completed. Yeah. 2 things joined together in commonality of theme. Cohesion. Oneness. And instead, hanging out. Get it? As Yui packs for a trip to London, Ui questions her sister's choice to bring her uniform. After all, she's leaving school back home. The answer is simply that the rest of the girls are bringing theirs as well. This repositions the uniform as more a symbol of friendship than school. It's goddamn twinsy dressing. When they perform wearing them at the Japan Pop Culture Exhibition, it functions as a symbol of their lack of seriousness as a band. Sawako offers them other outfits, which, furthering the distance from the school commentary, are seen worn by Academe's Nodoka and Ui. In contrast, the costume-gloved Crisis Band, Friends of Ritsu, are really there to perform. They are headed for the real stage at the festival, and got a gig with a restaurant earlier. Through a language barrier mix-up, the Hokage Tea Time Band ends up playing there. Operating erroneously as a professional band, they're forced to wear outfits for the show. This doesn't make any sense since Love Crisis doesn't even have the same number of members, but it remains to emphasize the difference between a hobby between friends and real work in the music scene. The later scene's schoolwear also shows a sense of homesickness, as the girls race for their flight immediately after the show. Earlier in the film, Yui had suggested intentionally flunking to stay with Azusa until her graduation. This subconscious hesitation to even move on to another form of school makes the prospect of becoming a touring band a mad one. Ultimately, staying is just as insane as leaving. Azusa gave her clubmates wings to fly out from school on. To reject them and stay in the nest would be downright disrespectful. Better to leave a parting gift, which may give their junior wings to soar out with as well. The final jam in blue skirts comes both as the third OP's music video and a scene within the film. As for relevant lines in the song, all of them. If you care, just look up the other themes and analyze them for yourself. You don't need me for that shit. Here the clothing functions almost ironically, as our heroines completely disrespect and possibly destroy a good deal of school property, dancing atop it. Their class-interrupting ruckus captures the attention of the principal, who upon reaching the troublemakers decides to do Nothing. The reason cited? Unlike Sawako's old band, these girls are cute. It isn't just the softer music letting them play the kawaii card, though. That they stayed dressed in uniform rather than edgy wear of their own design serves both as a concession to school rules and acknowledgement that music is not their future. See, while Sawako couldn't have predicted her superior's reaction, it seems she did learn a lesson or two from him back when he was her sensei. Career plans for becoming a musician were rejected. And despite her status as a cool teacher who had grown past posturing, when Yui and Ritsu turned in the same plans, she denied them their chosen path. Instead, by simply requesting to share a college with Mugi and Mio, they are approved. For it wasn't the guitar that made Sawako rock, it was the people. Death Devil's true style is when their souls collide with each other. Nothing has changed in the latest iteration of Keion-Bu. Mio may seem an odd fit to be at the same school as these clowns, but still she gives up a chance to attend one of Japan's prestigious public schools for a private one instead. For clarification, Japan's collectivist and hard-working mentality makes their big six public schools the prize, while the individualist and capitalist mindset of US provides more room for private schools in our hearts. Both a minor fuck you to the Japanese school system and a big embrace of the power of friendship is the commentary within Mio's, in actuality, completely rational decision. I mean, seriously, she had to assure her mother that Ritsu would be with her on the London trip to take care of her. She'd be a wreck going to college alone. These scenes show us the true meaning of school for the girls. A place where they met, and one they will continue to grow up together in. Even if their paths of growth go against the wishes of that very institution, they wear their uniform not as students, but as partners. Likewise, they wear their instruments not as musicians, but as friends. Because in popularity contests, not everyone can go pro, landing on the big stage with all the fancy audio equipment. But that doesn't mean you have to be a clock-in, clock-out cubicle slave. Your life can still have meaning outside from the friends you make, to the hobbies you share, to have real passions, even if staring at a math-filled screen is your career, to make art freely, to share with all the people you know and